joined by Adam Dent, who's the CEO of SIRA. Welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome to the PIEF studio.
Pleased to be here again.
And I understand you used to be a radio announcer, so welcome back.
A very long time ago.
You'd be very familiar with this environment.
Indeed.
You've got a great voice and a great face for TV and radio.
I was going to say, very much a face for radio. Very happy to accept that one. I'm happy to stay away from cameras.
So, SIRA, tell me a bit about SIRA. What's its role?
So, SIRA is the personal injury regulator for two schemes in New South Wales. We look after the motor accident and CTP scheme and workers' compensation regulation. We also have home building on the side, but that's a little bit of an anomaly. But in the PIEF context, we look after the two major personal injury schemes. So we regulate around 80 insurers that are involved in protecting and supporting people who might be injured at work or on the road.
And how many people are working with SIRA at the moment?
Just about 400. So small in sort of government standards, but large for a regulator.
It's a large organisation,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we've got a couple of really big, complex schemes to look after, and we're also responsible for the design of the schemes as much as we are the regulation and enforcement end. So we've got both the policy lens, but also the enforcement lens.
So, very interesting, right? So, the future of work is the theme for this year's Personal Injury and Disability Management National Summit. So, as a role of a regulator and policymaker in a very dynamic working environment, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing the employment market facing and employers, but also your organisation?
So, I mean, straight off the bat, the changing nature of work is the obvious one. I'm sure Dr. Hamer will talk about that a lot over the course of the PIEF conference. But thinking about the gig economy and or even just work from home. So, where is work? And so, when work is now your laptop propped up next to your toaster, what does that mean for what the workplace looks like and how you sort of function within it? But the gig economy is a really looming piece for us around who the employer is and how you can protect workers with a workers' compensation scheme, for example, when the worker is an independent contractor by very nature of how these platforms engage them, which means they find themselves often in low-income roles without the protection that maybe a traditional worker would have. So I think that's one of the really clear and present challenges we have for all the benefits this sort of future of work revolution is having for us around flexibility, around the ability for people to choose their own style of work. The protections have gone missing and all of that, and I think that's really, really critical for us to focus on. The other piece is just what talent is like generally, and not unlike anyone else in the market, SIRA is really having to fight for great talent. People are getting really good jobs at really great pay, and as a government organisation, there are certain limitations to what we can do and pay as well. So we're as much in the war for talent as anybody else, and we're really fortunate to have some exceptional people, but getting new ones is a lot of hard work, particularly in the current economy.
So looking forward, and obviously you can't do everything, and with the way that workplaces are changing, and there's so many different workplaces, let's be honest, right? And they're all changing at different rates. You can't focus and regulate everything as much as we'd love to and protect everyone as much as we'd love to. So what are your 400 people focusing on? What are your key themes for the next 2 to 5 years?
The big thing for us has been work on our regulatory framework, which is really starting to hone in on, first of all, data and intelligence to understand where harm is. So, I think everybody's talking about it, but you've really got to lean in and invest. And we have over the last 2 years. So we put huge amounts of energy into building an intelligence and analytics team that are really helping us to look across our schemes and say, where are we seeing the trends that cause the greatest harm, that the interventions we can make are going to give the best sort of, not just bang for buck, but the best impact in terms of mitigating harm. So through that, we're able to start to see patterns of behaviours, or we're able to see which claims might be more at risk. And so we're able to then start building standards around both the data and then the evidence that's available. So I think for me the real focus is how do we just get smarter about where we can direct the resources we have. And so that has to be risk-based, which is a term we've used in the regulatory landscape forever, but actually starting to really think through, in order to be risk-based, you've got to be intelligence-led. And in order to be really well intelligence-led, I think you have to be really quite customer-centric. So we've got to be thinking about the harm to the individual recipient of the benefit of the scheme. Once we start to understand that, where is that happening through intelligence, and then using a risk lens on what will we focus our energy and resources on. If we did that, I think we're going to have a greater likelihood of good outcomes than the old sort of compliance focus on getting you to do the tick and flick on everything. Yeah. And you know what? The law is the law, and you should be complying with it irrespective. But to focus on that, we're not going to be focusing on the thing that we might be able to see from some trend data coming down the line, that if we intervene now, we can really have a greater impact on injured workers or road users.
And the trend data, what are you seeing? What are the changes?
And none of these are probably lacking in obviousness to anyone who
Yeah.
works in this industry, but psychological claims are on the rise. What I've found most disturbing about psych injury claims is that it's not primary trauma that's driving most of them, it's actually workplace behaviour. So in some sectors that we're putting a bit of focus on at the moment, in particular the public sector, 8 out of 10 psych injury claims relate to what I would consider avoidable workplace behaviour, so bullying, harassment or job design and work stress. That's really quite disturbing, and those claims tend to last longer, they cost more, and because they relate to who you have to go back to working with, it makes return to work just
exactly
so much harder.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really genuine factor that we've seen coming in the data, and it's really materialising, and it's quite disturbing.
Now, what are you looking forward to most out of this year's conference?
Obviously, the incredible presentations, particularly by SIRA staff. But actually,
goes without saying.
one of the things I love about the summit this year is, of course, we have our awards, which SIRA is very, very pleased to support. We spend a lot of time, particularly as a regulator, focusing on how we improve the things that aren't going well in our schemes. And at the awards, we get to celebrate the incredible work being done across our sector by people who are nailing getting it right. And I think if we can shine a light on really great performance and on those people who genuinely believe in making sure our insurance schemes protect and support people now and into the future, then I think that's a trip worth having, and seeing that great work celebrated hopefully sends a signal to everybody else across the sector about what good looks like, because that's the North Star we need to be aiming for.
Exactly. Well, thank you for your time. Enjoy the
Great
conference.
to see you again. Pleasure.
Yes,
Thanks for
it's
having
always
me.
a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks so
Take
much.
care.